So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about our energy systems, our body's energy systems, what kind of fuel is required for them, when that fuel is being burned, that type of thing. Because a lot of us have a bad conception of fats. We try to keep the fats down in our diet. We try to eliminate those fats. And fats are not the enemy. You have to understand this. Fats are not necessarily the enemy. Now, when we look at the diet, we really do need to have about 30% of it in digestion in fats. We should have 20 to 25% in that range in protein, and then the remainder of it should be in carbohydrates. Now, the reason why is if you stop and think about this, so fats are utilized while we're sleeping, and they're utilized while we're doing low intensity exercise. So just everyday daily activities, going up and down the stairs, doing some light cleaning at home, some light work outside, this type of thing. Your heart rate's down, you're not working real hard. Fat is the primary source of energy. About 70% of it is being burned as fat. About 30% of it then is being burned as carbohydrates. Now, as that intensity level goes up, we start to burn more carbohydrates. When we get up to what's called moderate to vigorous exercise, we're typically burning about 50% fat and about 50% carbohydrates. So kind of an equal mix of both of those. So you can start to understand why fats are important. We need to have those. When we're sleeping at night, they keep our visceral functions going. Those are the things that is just the body's own natural process, the heartbeat, breathing, digestion. All of these things are going all night long, so that needs fuel to do that. And that fuel that's being supplied for that is going to be primarily fat. Now, here's the kicker. So if you keep your fats down and you keep them down too low and you're kicking up those carbohydrates, well, understand this, that when you take in carbohydrates, you're going to utilize a certain amount of it in the bloodstream as glucose. The remainder is going to get stored in the liver as glycogen. Now, the liver can only store so much. It can't store all of that. So if there's remaining glucose in the bloodstream, it will get converted into and stored as fat. Okay? This is where we have this visceral fat and this subcutaneous fat. And we have this epidemic of obesity in the country is because we're really consuming a lot of carbohydrates, primarily too many carbohydrates, along with high-fat diets. Both work against each other. You're really fighting yourself when you're doing this. Now, proteins. So when we take protein in, if you take in too much protein, you're going to have the same thing happen. The body can only utilize a certain amount of it for the building and repair and maintenance of the tissues in the body. The rest of it then can either be used for energy. If it's not, then it gets converted into and stored as fat. So fats get stored as fat if we have too much. Carbohydrates get stored as fat if we have too much. And protein gets stored as fat if we have too much. Now, we all understand, because there's so much information out there about saturated fats, unsaturated fats, what's healthy, what's not healthy. That's all good, okay? Study that, understand that. It's very, very important that we have our own viewpoints on that and kind of go that direction. But we want to keep those fats at about 30% of our diet. Again, any higher than that, and we're going to start storing it. If you keep your carbohydrates in that range of about 45 to 60% carbohydrates, as long as you're utilizing for energy, that's a good thing. Now, I try to take my starchy carbohydrates as things that are really going to, over time, ramp up that blood sugar. I try to take those before working out, have those in the morning, and then after workouts, I stay with lighter type carbohydrates, nothing too heavy. And so I'm doing typically in the evening a lot of vegetables, a lot of meats, things like that. I think that's a great way to go. But I do need those breads and I do need those starchier carbohydrates, potatoes, things like that earlier in the day so that I have them available for my workout. Now, I've talked to you also before about how much protein to take in. So again, that's going to be in the range of about 20 to 25, 30%, somewhere in that range. But it is based on grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So I did a video a while back on that. I suggest you go back and take a look at that and review that, and you'll understand that a little bit more. So bottom line, we need fat in the diet. Fat is not the enemy. What we need to control is the total consumption, get things in balance so our body is utilizing the fats and it's utilizing the carbohydrates and it's utilizing the protein as it was intended. And it's not going through that process of taking in all that excess and converting it into fat that's stored in our stomach, around our organs, and underneath our skin, thus the epidemic for obesity. So let's really focus on this, keep those calories down, keep them balanced really well, eat healthy, eat high nutritional food, stay away from processed food, and those are probably the main things I can help you out with this. Now, as always, if you have any questions, anything else I can help you out with, my email will be listed at the end of this video. So by all means, give me an email and I'll answer your specific questions.